Look around you right now, not at the screen, at your life. How many of your decisions are actually yours? How many of your opinions did you form yourself? How many moments of your day are spent completely alone with your own thoughts, without distraction, without noise, without someone else's voice telling you what to think, what to want, who to be? We live in a world that has made solitude feel like a disease. If you're alone, something must be wrong with you. If you're not constantly connected, you're missing out. If you walk your own path, you're arrogant, antisocial, or lost. Society has built an entire mythology around connection, that you're incomplete without others, that your worth is measured by your relationships, that walking alone means you've failed at being human. But what if everything you've been taught about solitude is wrong? What if the greatest figures in human history, the philosophers, the warriors, the artists, the leaders who shaped civilization, discovered their deepest truths not in crowds, but in silence, not in validation from others, but in conversation with themselves? Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire. He commanded armies. He presided over millions. And yet his most profound work, the Meditations, was never meant to be published. It was his private journal, his personal conversation with himself in solitude. Written in the quiet moments before dawn, on military campaigns far from home, in the stillness of his own company, he wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." Think about that. The most powerful man in the known world, surrounded by thousands who would do anything for his attention, found his greatest peace in the one place no one else could reach, his own mind. Today, we're going to reclaim that place. 7 Stoic truths about solitude and strength. Not loneliness, solitude. Not isolation, sovereignty. Not running from the world. Learning to stand so firmly within yourself that you can finally engage with the world without being consumed by it. If you're tired of needing permission to be yourself, hit that like button. Drop one word in the comments, the one thing you're ready to reclaim. Freedom, strength, peace, myself. Name it. Subscribe because this isn't a one-time message. It's a daily practice. And starting today, you're practicing. Truth 1. Solitude is not emptiness. It's fullness. Most people fear being alone because they've never learned to enjoy their own company. They fill every quiet moment with noise, scrolling, calling, watching, listening, consuming, anything to avoid the discomfort of facing themselves. But here's what they don't understand. In that discomfort lies your greatest treasure. Seneca, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, spent years in exile, banished from Rome, separated from family, stripped of status. Most people would have seen this as destruction. Seneca saw it as opportunity. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." His isolation wasn't emptiness. It was fertile ground. It was where wisdom grew. It was where he developed the insights that would influence humanity for thousands of years. When you're alone, really alone, something happens. The noise of others' opinions fades. The pressure to perform, to please, to pretend dissolves. What remains is the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are beneath all the masks. This is terrifying for most people because they built their entire identity around external validation. They don't know who they are when no one's watching, so they make sure someone's always watching. But for the Stoic warrior, this is liberation. Think about the last time you sat in complete silence with yourself for more than 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. If that sounds unbearable, you're exactly where most people are, afraid of your own mind. But your mind is your most powerful tool, and like any tool, it needs maintenance, attention, and training. Sacred solitude is where you develop your moral compass. When there's no one around to impress, no one to judge, no one to perform for, that's when you discover what you really believe, what you really value, what you're really made of. It's in these quiet moments that you hear the whispers of your deepest wisdom, the guidance that gets drowned out by the chaos of constant connection. The Stoic warrior doesn't see solitude as empty, they see it as full of possibility, full of clarity, full of the only thing that can never be taken from them, themselves. Start small, 5 minutes of intentional solitude each morning. No agenda, no productivity goals, just sitting with yourself, observing your thoughts without judgment. As you become comfortable with your own company, extend the time. Take solo walks without podcasts or music. Eat meals in silence. Travel alone occasionally. You'll discover something that changes everything. Solitude isn't empty, it's full of you. And you are enough. Truth, 2. Your opinion of me is none of my business. The second truth that separates the Stoic warrior from the crowd is this revolutionary mindset. What others think of you is completely outside your control and therefore completely irrelevant to your path. Most people spend their entire lives as prisoners to opinions that don't even belong to them. They make decisions based on what their parents might think, what their friends might say, what strangers on social media might judge. The Stoic warrior breaks these invisible chains. Eleanor Roosevelt, though not a Stoic philosopher, captured this truth perfectly. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. But let's take this deeper. Epictetus, who went from slave to one of history's most influential teachers, taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. When someone criticizes you, insults you, or disapproves of your choices, they're not actually hurting you. They're revealing something about themselves. Here's the brutal truth most people can't handle. That person who judges your life choices, they're probably miserable in their own life. The friend who questions your dreams, they've likely given up on their own. The family member who criticizes your path, they're often projecting their own fears and regrets onto you. Their opinion isn't about you at all. It's about them, about their pain, their limitations, their unfulfilled potential. The Stoic warrior develops what I call opinion immunity. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissive of genuine feedback. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between constructive input from people who genuinely care about your growth and the background noise of those who are simply uncomfortable with your freedom. Think about the last time someone's disapproval really bothered you. Now ask yourself, is this person living the life I want to live? Are they demonstrating the qualities I admire? Are they speaking from love and wisdom, or from their own fear and limitation? Most of the time, you'll realize that their opinion carries no weight because it comes from a place you don't want to be. The Stoic warrior also understands that seeking approval is a losing game because it's never enough. You could please 99 people, but that one person's disapproval will still haunt you. You could achieve everything society tells you to achieve, but there will always be someone ready to tear it down. The only opinion that truly matters is the one you have of yourself when you look in the mirror at the end of each day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I'm constantly amazed by how easily we love ourselves above all others, yet we value others' opinions of us more than our own." Read that again. You love yourself more than anyone. Your survival depends on it. And yet you hand over your sense of worth to people who don't know you, don't care about you, wouldn't trade places with you for a second. This principle requires daily practice. Every time you catch yourself about to make a decision based on what others might think, pause. Ask yourself, what would I do if no one was watching? What choice aligns with my values regardless of others' reactions? Then do that. Start small. Wear something you love that others might not understand. Share an idea that matters to you, even if it's unpopular. Take up a hobby that brings you joy, even if it seems weird to others. Each act of living authentically, regardless of others' opinions, builds your freedom muscle. Truth 3. Self-reliance is the foundation of true service. The third truth of the Stoic warrior is understanding that self-reliance isn't selfishness. It's the foundation of genuine service to others. We live in a culture that has confused independence with isolation, self-sufficiency with selfishness. But the truth is, the person who can stand on their own 2 feet is the person who can truly lift others up. You can't give what you don't have, and you can't lead where you haven't been willing to go alone. Ralph Waldo Emerson, heavily influenced by Stoic philosophy, wrote, "Nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles." The Stoic warrior knows that relying on others for your emotional stability, your sense of worth, or your basic needs makes you vulnerable. Not because others are unreliable, but because it places your power in someone else's hands. Consider the airplane safety instruction. Put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. This isn't selfishness, it's wisdom. If you pass out trying to help someone else first, now there are 2 people in danger instead of 1. The same principle applies to every area of life. When you develop the skills, mindset, and inner resources to handle your own challenges, you become a source of strength for others rather than a drain. Self-reliance means developing what I call emotional sovereignty. This is the ability to process your own feelings, solve your own problems, and maintain your own peace of mind without constantly needing others to rescue you, validate you, or fix you. It doesn't mean never asking for help. It means asking for help from a position of strength rather than desperation. The self-reliant person approaches relationships differently. Instead of seeking someone to complete them, they seek someone to complement them. Instead of looking for others to fill their voids, they work on becoming whole themselves. This creates relationships based on mutual growth and genuine love, rather than neediness and codependency. Practically, self-reliance means developing skills across multiple areas of life. Learn to cook nutritious meals for yourself. Understand basic financial management. Develop emotional regulation techniques. Build physical strength and endurance. Cultivate intellectual curiosity. The more competent you become in handling life's basic requirements, the more freedom you have to pursue what truly matters. But here's the deeper level, spiritual self-reliance. This means developing your own relationship with meaning, purpose, and truth. Don't outsource your spiritual life to others' interpretations. Read the ancient texts yourself. Meditate on the big questions. Develop your own understanding of what makes life worth living. The Stoic warrior knows that self-reliance is ultimately about taking full responsibility for your life experience. No more blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck for your unhappiness. No more waiting for someone else to save you, motivate you, or give you permission to live fully. When you accept complete responsibility for your life, you also claim complete power over your life. Start building self-reliance today. Identify one area where you're overly dependent on others. Maybe it's emotional support. Maybe it's practical skills. Maybe it's decision-making. Take one small step toward independence in that area. The goal isn't to need no one. It's to choose connection from strength rather than desperation. Truth 4. Failure is your private university. The fourth truth that defines the Stoic warrior is this: they don't just accept failure, they court it, study it, and extract every lesson it offers. While others run from failure, make excuses for it, or pretend it doesn't affect them, the Stoic warrior sits alone with their failures and asks the most important question: what is this trying to teach me? Thomas Edison, when asked about his 1,000 failed attempts to invent the light bulb, famously said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." This isn't just positive thinking. It's the mindset of someone who understands that failure is not the opposite of success. It's the raw material of success. But here's what most motivational speakers won't tell you. This process happens alone. When you fail publicly, people will offer sympathy, advice, or criticism. But the real work, the deep excavation of what went wrong and why, that happens in solitude. It happens in those quiet moments when you strip away the ego, the excuses, and the external noise and honestly examine your choices, your preparation, and your execution. The Stoic warrior creates what I call a failure audit. After every significant setback, they spend time alone analyzing three things. 1. What did I control that I could have done differently? 2. What was outside my control that I need to accept? 3. What can I learn that will make me stronger for the next attempt? This isn't self-flagellation, it's self-education. Marcus Aurelius faced military defeats, political betrayals, and personal losses. But in his private meditations he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood that obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're curriculum. Every failure is a specialized course in exactly what you need to learn to reach the next level. Most people avoid this process because it's uncomfortable. It requires admitting mistakes, acknowledging weaknesses, and sitting with the pain of unmet expectations. But the Stoic warrior knows that comfort is the enemy of growth. They would rather face the temporary discomfort of honest self-examination than the permanent discomfort of repeating the same mistakes. Here's the paradox. The more willing you are to fail alone, the less likely you are to fail in ways that matter. When you've processed your failures privately, extracted the lessons, and implemented the changes, you become anti-fragile, stronger because of the stress, not despite it. The failure audit also reveals patterns. Maybe you consistently underestimate the time needed for projects. Maybe you avoid difficult conversations until they become crises. Maybe you make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. These patterns only become clear when you're honest with yourself in solitude. Start your own failure practice. When something doesn't go as planned, resist the urge to immediately seek comfort or distraction. Instead, schedule time alone to sit with the experience. Write about it. What factors were within your control? What assumptions proved wrong? What would you do differently? What strength did this experience build that you didn't have before? Remember, every expert in any field is simply someone who has made more mistakes than beginners and learned from each one. Your failures aren't evidence that you're not cut out for success. They're proof that you're in the game. Truth 5. Build your inner fortress. The fifth truth of the Stoic warrior is constructing what ancient philosophers called the inner citadel, an unassailable fortress of mental strength that remains standing regardless of external storms. This isn't about building walls to keep others out. It's about creating a space within yourself that no one can invade, corrupt, or destroy without your permission. Epictetus, one of history's greatest teachers, understood this principle better than most. He wrote, "No one can hurt you without your permission." Think about the profound truth in those words. Physical harm can be inflicted on your body, but your inner fortress, your values, your character, your peace of mind, remains yours to protect or surrender. Building this inner fortress requires understanding the difference between what Stoics call impressions and judgments. An impression is what happens to you. Someone criticizes your work. You lose money in an investment. A relationship ends. You face a health challenge. These impressions are often outside your control. But your judgment about these impressions, what they mean, how they affect your worth, what you should do next, that's entirely within your fortress walls. Most people have no fortress at all. They're completely exposed to every wind of opinion, every shift in circumstances, every emotional storm that comes their way. When someone speaks harshly to them, their entire day is ruined. When plans don't work out, they spiral into despair. When others succeed, they feel diminished. They've given away the keys to their inner peace to anyone who wants to take them. The Stoic warrior's fortress has several layers of defense. The outer wall is perspective, the ability to see current challenges in the context of your entire life, of human history, of the temporary nature of all things. When someone insults you, perspective reminds you that their words reveal their character, not yours. When you face a setback, perspective shows you that this too shall pass. The second layer is principles, a clear set of values that guide your decisions regardless of external pressure. These aren't rigid rules imposed by others, but deeply considered beliefs about what makes life worth living. When you know what you stand for, no one can make you fall for anything. The inner keep of your fortress is what I call unshakable identity. Understanding that you are not your circumstances, your roles, your possessions, or even your thoughts and feelings. You are the observer of all these things, the consciousness that experiences them. This core self cannot be touched by external events because it exists independently of them. Building this fortress is daily work. Every time you choose your response rather than reacting automatically, you strengthen the walls. Every time you act according to your values despite external pressure, you deepen the foundation. Every time you find peace in chaos, you expand the inner sanctuary. The fortress also has windows, openings that allow you to connect with others and serve the world, but on your terms rather than theirs. The Stoic warrior isn't isolated. They're sovereign. They engage with life fully while maintaining their inner autonomy. Here's what's powerful about this inner fortress. The stronger it becomes, the more generous you can be with others. When you're not constantly defending your emotional territory, you have energy to help others build their own fortresses. When you're not threatened by others' success, you can celebrate it genuinely. When you're not dependent on others' approval, you can give them honest feedback that serves their growth. Start building your fortress today. Identify one area where you're too emotionally dependent on external circumstances. Maybe it's your mood depending on others' opinions. Maybe it's your self-worth depending on achievements. Practice maintaining your inner peace in that area regardless of what happens outside. Remember, everyone will face storms in life. The question isn't whether you'll encounter difficulties. It's whether you'll have built a fortress strong enough to weather them while maintaining your values, your peace, and your ability to serve others. Truth 6. The courage to walk alone is the courage to be yourself. The sixth truth is perhaps the most confronting. Walking alone requires the courage to be fully, unapologetically yourself in a world that constantly pressures you to be someone else. From the moment we're born, we're conditioned to fit in, conform, please, perform. We learn to hide the parts of ourselves that might be rejected and amplify the parts that earn approval. By adulthood, most people have become strangers to themselves. They don't know what they actually think, feel, or want because they've spent so long mirroring the expectations around them. The Stoic warrior chooses a different path. They understand that the greatest act of courage is not fighting external enemies, but facing the internal terror of being truly known, first to yourself, then to the world. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Think about that. Most people waste their lives trying to be versions of themselves that others will accept. They waste decades in careers they hate, relationships that drain them, beliefs that aren't theirs, all because they lack the courage to walk alone. But here's what they don't understand. The approval you gain by hiding yourself is worthless because it's not really you they're approving. They're approving the mask, and masks are exhausting to wear. The Stoic warrior knows that walking alone doesn't mean you'll never have company. It means you refuse to trade your authenticity for acceptance. When you have the courage to be yourself, something remarkable happens. You attract people who resonate with your actual self, not your performance. The relationships you form are based on reality, not fiction. They're deeper, more satisfying, and infinitely more real. And here's the paradox. The more willing you are to walk alone, the less alone you actually become. Because authenticity attracts. Realness resonates. People are starving for someone genuine in a world of fakes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Stop talking about who you want to be. Stop planning to be authentic someday. Be it now, today, in this moment. The courage to walk alone shows up in small choices. Speaking your mind when you'd rather stay silent. Pursuing work that matters to you, even if others don't understand it. Ending relationships that require you to shrink. Starting projects that scare you. Wearing what you love. Laughing at what you actually find funny. Crying when you're actually sad. Each act of authenticity is a step on the path of walking alone, and each step makes the next one easier. The Stoic warrior knows that at the end of your life, you won't regret the times you were yourself and someone disapproved. You'll regret the times you hid yourself and someone approved of someone who wasn't really you. Start today. One small act of authentic self-expression. One truth you've been hiding. One dream you've been suppressing. One opinion you've been swallowing. Speak it, live it, be it. The courage to walk alone is the courage to finally meet yourself, and that meeting changes everything. Truth 7. In solitude, you discover that you were never alone. This is the final truth, the one that ties everything together. The paradox at the heart of the Stoic path. When you have the courage to walk alone, to face yourself in solitude, to build your inner fortress, to learn from your failures, to be authentically yourself, you discover something that changes everything. You were never alone. Not in the way you feared, not in the way society warned you about, not in the empty, lonely way that drives people to desperate connection. Something else, something deeper. In the depths of sacred solitude, when all external noise has faded, when the opinions of others have dissolved, when you're sitting quietly with nothing but your own awareness, you discover that you are connected to something vast. The Stoics called it logos, the rational principle that runs through all of existence. The universal mind, the source of order and meaning in the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Constantly regard the universe as one living being, having one substance and one soul." He understood that your individual consciousness is not separate from the whole. It's a part of it, a unique expression of something infinite. When you walk alone in the external sense, you discover that you're never alone in the ultimate sense. You're connected to every Stoic who ever lived, every human who ever sought truth, every being that ever existed. Seneca, writing letters to his friend Lucilius from exile, comforted himself with this truth. I am not alone as long as I can write, as long as I can think, as long as I can connect with the wisdom of those who came before. In solitude, you join a lineage, the lineage of those who had the courage to walk their own path. The philosophers, the warriors, the artists, the seekers who chose truth over approval, authenticity over acceptance, freedom over fitting in. You discover that solitude is not the absence of connection. It's the presence of a deeper connection. Connection to yourself, connection to humanity, connection to the universal principles that govern existence. This is why the Stoic warrior doesn't fear being alone. They know that in the deepest solitude, they find the richest communion. This is also why they don't cling desperately to relationships. They love deeply, serve generously, connect authentically, but they don't need others to complete them. They're already complete. Their love flows from fullness, not emptiness. Epictetus put it simply, you are a citizen of the universe, not just of your country, not just of your community, of the universe. You belong to something so vast that human opinions become background noise, so infinite that temporary setbacks become meaningless, so eternal that death itself becomes just a transition. When you discover this truth in solitude, you stop being lonely. You become free. Free to love without needing, free to give without expecting, free to be yourself without apologizing. This is the gift of walking alone. You discover you were never alone. You were always part of something greater. You just needed the silence to hear it. You made it, all the way through, 7 truths, hours of wisdom, and you stayed. That says something about you. It says you're ready to stop outsourcing your worth. It says you're ready to face yourself in the silence. It says you're choosing the path of the Stoic warrior, the path of walking alone so you can finally be free. Remember what we covered. Solitude is not emptiness, it's fullness. Their opinion of you is none of your business. Self-reliance is the foundation of true service. Failure is your private university. Build your inner fortress. Have the courage to be yourself. And in solitude, discover you are never alone. This is the path, not easy, but simple. One moment of solitude at a time. One act of authenticity at a time. One choice at a time. Before you go, hit that like button. Not for me, as a promise to yourself that you're done hiding. Drop a comment which of these 7 truths hit you hardest. I read them. I'm with you. Share this with someone who needs permission to walk their own path. Subscribe. This is daily practice. You need these reminders. We all do. Come back when the noise gets loud. Let these words be your anchor. You are worthy. You are enough. You are becoming. And in the silence, you'll discover you were never alone.